Georgia Stout. Hey, what's up, Georgia Stout? Outdoor Gear and Beer. Daddy Dot Porter. What's up, everybody? Hey, JC Pedraza. I see Black Beer Travelers. Phototropy. Am I saying that right? Phototropy? I guess that's a fancy way to say it. Phototropy. What's up, everybody? It's Wednesday. Happy Wednesday to everyone out there in the Instagrams. I'm Jen. For folks who don't know me, I'm Jen Price, owner and operator of the Atlanta Beer Boutique and author of The Chick's Guide to Beer. What's up? Al the Brewer. Got it. Al the Brewer. I need to put my readers on. I can't see this little writing. Al the Brewer. There we go. Kimbo Bureau. Vino Van is here. And Vino Van is who I'm about to invite up to chat today. Vino Van is her Instagram. Y'all go ahead and follow her. She's right there. Her name is Billie. I'm answering her request. Talking about beer versus wine tonight. So, as y'all know, I'm a beer lover, and Billie is a wine lover. There she is. What's up, Billie?
What's going on?
How are you?
I'm excited.
I am too. I was just telling people real quickly. I told them to all follow at Vino Van LLC, right? Yeah, at Vino Van LLC. And I was just saying that you are a wine lover, just like I am a beer lover. And I was going to tell folks, how we know each other just briefly. And then I want to hear more about you and kind of how you got started and then get into drinking. So a lot of people who are on here, I see Excited to Feast on here. One of my good friends a few folks know our common friend who is LaKoya. And I've known Koya since high school. I know you've known her for a decade plus as well. And that's how we met, through her. Hanging out with her at her house. I would bring wild beers. You would bring wild wines. And I was like, okay, this is going to be one of my friends. I can already tell.
Oh, yeah. And we've been going strong ever since.
Ever since. So how did you get into wine? I see lots of wine people joining us.
I do.
Some of your peeps.
Friends in wine. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank y'all for tuning in. I appreciate that.
How did you get into wine?
So, I tell the same story all the time. My love for wine came about with my love of food, actually. And when I moved here from Mississippi, that was something that was extremely important to me, was finding good food. When I got here, because, just that it's all about the food at home, back
Absolutely.
home. And so that brought me a lot of comfort, because I came here for the most part myself first. I didn't have any other family. Well, I had an uncle here, but my mom and my sister, they didn't come until a little bit later. So just anything that I could have found that kind of reminded me of home. That's what I was looking for. But in that process, I began to meet a lot of chefs that I'm friends with, that I'm still friends with now, and just going and dining at these different restaurants and understanding the relationship, which I like to call a marriage between food and wine. And so that, of course, piqued my interest in wine, and I wanted to learn more. And so the more that I learned, the more interested I became. And all, to a point where I was like, okay, hey, this is, something that I really want to take very seriously, and begin to study a little bit more. And just with the understanding that wine is far more than goodness in a glass. People say that a lot, but it is history and it is culture. And it is a little bit of everything. It's topography. It's it's a whole bunch of different things, and it's so many layers, and it's so much to learn about wine. You'll never just learn everything there is to learn about wine, but the journey is very exciting for me. I wake up thinking about wine. I know it might sound a little crazy. Not necessarily wake up drinking wine,
No.
but not all the time anyway. But definitely wake up thinking about it and all throughout the day. So I mean, it's really become my life.
Yeah.
And I want to educate others about wine and get other people excited about drinking wine and trying different types of wine and just getting more comfortable with talking wine. And taking away the pretentiousness, that's associated with, as far as my pop-ups are concerned, my wine education classes, and putting things in layman's terms, that people can understand.
Absolutely. I doubt anybody who's on this feed would make you feel bad about waking up thinking about wine, because I mean, all of us are probably in that same boat, except there's nothing wrong with that. I do the same thing with beer.
Yes,
exact same thing with beer. Exact same thing with beer. So I wanted to do this beer versus wine series. First of all, so I used to do classes way back in the day. Maybe about 10 years ago, I started doing beer classes, and I used to do one. It was a beer versus wine, beer and wine pairing is what I called it. And it was a way for me to teach beer drinkers about wine, because I don't know a lot about wine. And I did it in partnership with a woman who owned a wine shop at the time. And she did it as a way to kind of teach her wine drinkers about beer. And so we just always came away from those with a lot of knowledge. So I'm excited to jump in today to what we brought. So me and Billie went shopping on Monday. We went to Hop City at Krog Street. We only spent about an hour in there. It was only an hour.
That was fun.
It was only an hour, and we were only trying to find one beer and one wine. I know, but so let's just kick it off. Let's start. So we are pairing for the first versus a Farmhouse Ale with a. I'm gonna let you say what the wine is. The wine is called.
What I have is called.
You're breaking up a little bit. Let me make sure it's not just me. Hold on.
Which is short for Petulance Naturel style. This particular one is from. Oh, can you hear me now? 3 hours. We did not spend.
It was not 3 hours. It might have been two, but
maybe. But yeah, so this one is a Slovenian Pét-Nat, and it is the producer or the winemaker is Kobo, and you can see it on here. It's Bajta.
Bajta, that's how you say the name. That's the name of this one.
That is a very fun and unique Bajta. Really super cool, actually, and it's a very old one.
Hold on one second, Billie. Wait a minute. One second.
One of the oldest forms of.
Okay, I got you.
Oh, sure.
You were breaking up a little bit. Is somebody let me know if it's just my end, if Billie's breaking up on y'all's end too. Let me know. Put a thumbs up.
Yeah, let me know, please.
Yeah, because we can fix that. But go ahead. Keep talking. So you were talking about it being an older sort of process?
Yeah, it's an older. Yeah, so it's one of the oldest forms of essentially champagne making, and accidental in the sense where the French noticed that the still wines that they were fermenting would naturally drink while it was in the bottle.
You are breaking up. Yep.
I'm breaking up.
Yep. It's okay. So maybe move around. What I'm going to do. Yeah. So while she is moving around, Billie picked Pét-Nat. I'm going to tell you about what I picked, which is Farmhouse. So we picked Farmhouse I picked Farmhouse. So we let Billie shop first, and she picked Pét-Nat, which she told me about the process and how it's sort of an antique or a vintage way of making wine. I picked Farmhouse, which is also a very old traditional way of making beer. And they're very similar in the processes. Chanel says she can hear me. We'll make sure y'all can hear Billie too. I'll let her come back in a second. But it is traditionally a spontaneous type of beer. So spontaneous in a couple different ways. It's called a farmhouse ale because they were traditionally brewed on farms. And the
I think I
farmers
may,
at the
you know
end
what,
of the
because
season.
right now I'm on my
What's
iPad.
up?
Yeah.
Okay. You want to drop off and come back? You're going to drop off and come back. Okay. Billie's going to drop
So
off and come back.
I'm
While
gonna
she
log out
does
of
that,
this and I'm gonna do it from my phone.
yeah,
It may be,
good
yes.
idea.
So let's try that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So while Billie goes away and comes back, I'm going to keep talking to y'all about Saison. So I'm sorry, Farmhouse. So Farmhouse is really a family of beer styles. And within that family falls a couple of different names that you are familiar with, like Saison, Goose is another style that's a part of it. Bière de Garde is a farmhouse style beer. And the reason why they are called farmhouse, like I said, is because they are brewed at the farm. The farmers take whatever grains they have on site, whatever fruit and stuff that they have at their farm, and that's what they use to make the beer. So it's an interesting style because it has a couple of rules to it, but it's pretty wide open because it just depends on what that farm happened to have at the time that they brewed the beer. They let it sit and condition and lager all throughout the winter and have it ready in the spring for their farm hands to enjoy as they're working in the hot sun. Billie, I can already tell that's better. So Billie is back.
Yeah.
She's going to finish telling us about Pét-Nat.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you go ahead and finish. That was sounding very interesting.
That's the gist of it. So the farmhouse ale is one that has a lot of different styles underneath it. It's more of a family because it's a process like Pét-Nat, right? So it's all about the farmers just taking whatever grains they were growing, whatever fruit they had, whatever stuff they had on hand at the end of that season, throwing it into the brewing process and letting it condition over the winter or lager over the winter to be ready for the spring. So a lot of different styles fall within this family of farmhouse, like Saison, Goose, Bière de Garde. There's some Finnish styles, all kind of different styles that fall within this family. So I think it may be really interesting to pair these together because of their process. This one is made by Jester King, not Kings. They're from Texas. Decatur Wine Poet asked who's the producer of this one. Who's a producer of the one that you have? Again, Billie.
It's Kobo. K-O-B.
Okay.
And Bob is the name of it.
Got you. Where do you want to start? Which one do you want to drink first?
Well,
I'm opening them both.
You know what?
So
let me really quickly just say a little bit about it because I'm not sure how much people heard.
Would you?
Breaking up really badly.
That's a good idea.
But no, so what I was saying about Pét-Nat is, yes, it is a rather old style of champagne making, but it was accidentally done in a sense where the French noticed that the still wine that they were making would naturally re-ferment while it was in the bottle. And so it was creating like this, it was becoming carbonated, and it was like this fizziness or what have you. And just because at that point in time, they had sealed this wine in the bottle, so nothing was being opened up. So all of the CO2 was trapped in that bottle. And that sort of kind of introduced the idea of other forms of sparkling wine making in a sense, just like the champagne method or the champenois method. The Pét-Nat or the Pétillant Naturel is also referred to as the ancestral method as well. So you may people call it that too. And similar to the beer that you chose, Pét-Nats are usually pretty low in ABV also. So they'll be anywhere between 10% and 12%.
That's
And
low for a wine.
it is. It
That's
is.
high for a beer.
Um,
That's low for a wine. Yeah.
right. Especially to say that it's not a very sweet wine either, because most wines that are kind of low in ABV are like some of your Rieslings, they'll be 9 or 10%, but they're pretty sweet
Very
still.
sugary. Yeah.
So, and it's a natural wine. Basically, no added sugar, no preservatives, and then the one that I have is unfiltered.
And no filtration. I was just going to
No,
say that. It's
little
cloudy.
sediment.
So it reminds you of like a
Hmm.
hazy beer. Yeah,
Yeah.
and the sediment at the bottom, you were telling me about how to disturb that. What's the best way? Because I haven't opened it yet. The best
So,
way to
like,
disturb the sediment that's in the bottom.
and this is like it's a personal preference in a sense. For me, I want the whole everything. I want to taste it. I don't mind drinking the little sediment. It's not going to do anything to you. So,
Right.
I've opened my bottle already, but
I haven't opened mine, so tell me what to do.
so I'll just typically turn it upside down, and it makes.
Okay.
I don't necessarily do this for sparkling wines because of the carbonation. You don't want to kill the bubbles, but especially
You don't
like,
want to shake it, right?
yeah, a still wine that's unfiltered or unfined, I'll just turn it upside down and just sort of kind of gently swirl it around to kind of, let the sediment or and it may be, some lees, I guess you can call it,
Yeah.
kind of go into here. But Pét-Nat might be a little bit different because it does have bubbles.
So you don't want to do too much. It's kind of similar. So when we have sediment in our beers, what we do is roll them. We roll
Ah,
them, or we
cool.
do like a little very gentle kind of
Little rock.
seesaw.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
like
but I can see that. I can see that being similar. So I'm gonna open mine up. Now, is there a particular glass? I'm gonna talk about glassware for mine, but is there a particular style of glass that you
that.
want with Pét-Nat? Ooh, listen.
The
It
thing,
is carbonated. Oh my
yeah.
gosh, look at that. And bubbles.
Oh,
In a
yeah.
wine. I love it. I'm already loving this.
Okay.
This is my kind of wine.
Listen, it is pretty cool, that's for sure. But my glasses, I typically have glasses that are versatile. So I can drink
Okay.
white, red, rosé, sparkling wines out of most of the glasses that I have. So it kind of depends. If you really want to get off into it, that glass is perfectly fine,
Look
for
at that.
Pét-Nat.
Bubbles.
And,
This is a tiku, a beer glass that
okay.
we normally reserve for sours, but it's reminiscent of a wine glass. It
Oh,
was
yes, it
borrowed. The
is.
style was borrowed from the wine world.
Yeah,
Um,
I have
it
to.
looks very similar to yours, except a little bit of a tulip towards the top, which
Mm,
is the beer part.
pretty
But
much.
yeah,
But I do like bigger bowl, as in the BOW, like the bowl of the glass.
you can get more
Um,
in there.
yeah, but
Yeah.
not red wine big, because those
Okay.
are,
Those are huge.
yeah, they can be a little bit bigger for purposes of allowing the wine to open and get oxygen in there. But these, you don't really need that. And then two, another rule of thumb for any sparkling wine, whether it's a Pét-Nat, champagne, cava, prosecco, or any sparkling wine, we never swirl those.
Oh, damn. I just did like I would with a beer. Sorry.
It's okay. But yeah,
Okay, rewind. But you're like, I don't know anything. I'm learning. Till like I didn't do that. So you just put your nose in and take a big whiff.
yeah. Oh, and I also tell people, when you're trying to pick up the aromas of the wine, do not be afraid to stick your nose in a glass. It might look
Yes.
silly, but
Yes.
my glass is like pressed up against my face,
Mm-hmm.
because you want to block out everything else in your environment, whether you have on perfume or cologne, or whether there's
That's a
air
good point.
or anything else, any other kind of fragrance that may interfere. So yeah, and so you just want.
Funny. We do similar. So our steps in tasting beer are very similar to wine. We put our nose all in it. We swirl though because I guess you tell me why y'all don't, but we swirl because carbonation releases volatile
Yeah,
um, chemicals and aromas that are sometimes still in beer when it is when it's been conditioning or sitting on your shelves. So
yeah. Well,
someone asked about serving temperature too, but I'm sorry.
yeah.
Go ahead. You're gonna tell me why you don't swirl.
So,
And
on
when can I
the
taste
bubble,
it? Can I taste it yet?
girl, listen,
Okay.
of course. but the only thing that we don't, or that I don't swirl, is my sparklers or anything that has bubbles or any kind of carbonation. I don't swirl it because, you know, sometimes when the oxygen get in there, so it'll, you know, it'll kind of kill the bubbles a little
It'll
bit.
dull it. Yeah.
So it'll make it flat. But other wines that are still white, rosé, reds, definitely swirl them. Swirl them a lot. I swirl
You
a lot.
can wake them up.
Yeah. And then too, you'll notice that because wine is a living thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
As you swirl, as it sits while you're sipping, it develops. You know,
Yes.
it doesn't stop developing. So
Yes.
you're always going to get other characteristics, you know, midway through your glass and even at the end of your glass that you may not have picked up at the beginning. And that's just because it's going to continuously develop. Now, as far as serving temperature for Pét-Nats, you would serve them cold, you know, just how you would your champagne, not ice.
Like 45 degrees.
Well, it's kind of the thing about
out
it.
The fridge.
Yeah, I just always as a cool little, you know, tidbit for white wines or any, you know, white wines, sparklers, rosés even, take them out of the fridge or, you know, off ice 30 minutes prior to serving.
Oh, really? Okay.
A nice temperature. And then for red wines, don't be afraid to put a chill on your red wines, but you can in the fridge for 30 minutes before you're ready to serve them to kind of
to bring them up.
Mm-hmm.
Because red, you can store them out or in a cellar kind of environment. They don't need to be refrigerated.
Yeah.
That is so neat. So we do something very similar with beer. Depends on the style also. Stouts, I don't hardly refrigerate those unless it's like right now it's super, super hot. Summertime, I may refrigerate those, take them out at the beginning, like when I'm cooking, so that they'll be up to temperature by the time I'm ready to eat, about 30 to 45 minutes later. The style of beer that I have now that we're tasting today, it should be served about 45 degrees or to 55 degrees, sometimes a little warmer because farmhouse ales, like you're saying about your whites, they change in character as they warm. So you'll notice more spiciness, more, you know, the aromas change as they warm up. All kinds of things happen. Okay, can we just pause for a minute?
Sure.
Cheers to this Pét-Nat because it is so good. I love this. I could chug. This reminds me of.
Because I'm gonna tell you what it see if we it's this well I'm gonna wait till you see what you say and then see if we're on the same page. I'm wait.
It reminds me of a mix between a Goza, which is a kind of sour or Berliner, and a Saison, a French Saison or Farmhouse, which I'm excited to try this one that we have. What would you say?
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Even smelling it, it smells like. Yeah.
I don't have any left. Let me do it again. Listen, I'm gonna be toe up by the time we're done with this because I got.
Maybe not because let's see.
I'm gonna finish both of these.
Okay.
Best as I can. I have until like bedtime. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Somebody said it's low alcohol, so chug away. Thank you, Decatur. Somebody from Decatur. That's one of my homies.
So he oh wait, okay. So
Decatur, I don't know him, but anybody from Decatur is a homie for me.
No, I'm gonna tell you. So he also I went to a tasting where he brought wines from Slovenia. I hope I'm saying this right. Krasna, Krasna. And so that's really cool that he's on here. I met him a couple times actually, but the first time, yes, was wines that he had brought to this wine event, and they were Slovenian wine.
Wow.
The Pét-Nat that we're drinking, and it was really cool. So thanks for joining today.
I love it. I want to taste the beer next because I want to taste them in kind of parallel with each other. And then I want to ask you about things like, I know in wine you call it terroir. We kind of have a similar sort of, I would say, thought process with beer is like, you know, determining, you know, that where the beer is brewed, the water that's used, using the local ingredients to make that beer or wine really does impact the final product. Would you say that's the same in wine, isn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah. So I'm going to pour mine, guys, because I just want to see, first of all, the difference. Chanel asked if we would post these. I will definitely post the bottles from both of these on my story tonight. So I'm excited to try Jester King. This is called, I don't have on my glasses, guys. I think it's, never mind. I put it on my laptop because I knew I wasn't going to be able to see that little writing. It's called Provenance. It's a blood orange and tangerine farmhouse. It's at 6.3%.
Mm-hmm.
So, excuse me, as I was saying, Jester King, oh my gosh, similar color.
Yes.
Jester King is in Texas. Look at that. So this is the beer.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the wine.
Right.
Very, very similar. Very similar.
Yeah.
Okay. It smells amazing. It smells very perfumey.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm not surprised at. I looked up the hop blend in this one, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But let me tell you, so this is made from 800 pounds of hand-juiced Texas-grown blood oranges. And they also use sunburst tangerines in this beer. Oh.
It's pretty yummy.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That is tasty.
So when I read about this beer, it sounded to me, I got a little nervous. So Billie and I were shopping Monday, and we spent a lot of time just kind of talking to Sam Spaghetti at Hop City, who knows so much about everything. And we were very, very interested in making sure we picked a wine and a beer that kind of played off of each other and had some similarities. We knew it wouldn't be a perfect match, right? But I think this is a really good pair up for someone who says, I don't like beer, I only drink wine. This would really be, it's so parallel to that.
It
to the
really
wine.
is in many, many ways.
I cannot believe this.
Color, the aromas, like the things that I was getting on the nose. So like Pét-Nat, I did get that lemon and lime.
Yes.
That lemon and lime. And I got some floral characteristics as well on that which, is very similar to what I'm getting, with the Jester King. I'm getting the citrus, really.
Absolutely.
Getting a lot
Let me tell you, so much citrus, not only from the blood orange and tangerines, but from the hop blends. So they use Equinox hops, Laurel, and Sabro for a dry hop. And so Equinox, I looked it up, has fruity aromatics like lemon, lime, orange, tropical fruit. You'll get some herbal notes on here like sage and eucalyptus. And I do get like that. Eucalyptus to me reminds me of like juniper, rosemary. It's bitter a little bit and almost a little astringent, but not like nasty, but can almost taste on the borderline of medicinal sometimes, right? So, and that's what this reminds me of. You get a little bit of that on the end. The reason why I said I was worried is because as I was reading the hops that were in this, I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a very minerally, very earthy, very barnyard floor, as you would say in the wine world, tasting beer. And I was worried, but it's not too minerally. No, it's not. It's very well balanced.
Yeah, I definitely get more, and the term we would use in the wine world would be herbaceousness.
Herbaceous, yep.
I do get a lot of that.
Wow.
And then too, the finish of the Jester King is quite similar to the finish of this Pét-Nat as well.
It really is. Let me rinse and repeat. I meant to bring some pretzels over, but they're over there. So this is what I'm getting. First of all, I think the aromas are actually very, very similar.
They're,
very juicy.
They both are.
Would you believe that this brewery, started out as a farmhouse brewery. That's all that they used to brew before. They are on a farm, hundreds of acres in Texas, in the Texas Hill Country, but actually I looked on their website and it says Austin.
Oh.
So I guess that's the same thing. I don't know. But they brew beers that are mostly spontaneously fermented, either spontaneously fermented or they make a mixed culture. And so again, going back to this being an old traditional style of brewing, where you put together your mash, so you put your grains in the water, you boil them, you add your hops, and then you just let it sit out.
Yeah.
You open the containers and let whatever natural flora and fauna, bacteria that are in the air, ferment the beer and just beautify this beer. And what that does is really connect it. We talked about terroir earlier. It connects it to a place. And that Jester King, they're really big on connecting their beer to place and creating that sort of sensory connection between what you're drinking and where you are, which I think is such a beautiful way to look at it. It means that it's hyper local, not just, getting, grains from Texas, but you're actually fermenting this beer with whatever grows locally in your area. And during the months where things are not in bloom, like during the winter, is when they use their mixed culture yeast. And that's a mixture between a brewer's yeast, which is a traditional yeast, and then yeast that they collect, bacteria they collect off of the flowers and the wildflowers from the farm. So that's how they put together their fermentation processes for this beer, is just trying, to connect this product to where they are, what they have locally. And the cool thing about beer and wine is that you don't know what you're gonna get until you pop it open, right? And like tonight with me and you, like when they brew these beers, they don't know what they're gonna be like in the end. It's just like, let's see what happens. So that's so fun.
The thing too with and it sounds kind of like, we're finding, honestly, I know we're talking about similarities and differences between beer and wine, but seemingly we're finding a whole lot of similarities.
I know.
Right.
On our first try.
Listen, with this
show on the road,
the vines are like, they're 35-year-old vines.
At this particular winery. Okay.
Yes, this particular vineyard. And
vineyard, sorry.
Yeah, so the roots run fairly deep, into the soil, and of course that absorbs the the minerals from that soil, which this particular soil is clay and sand and clay, basically. So that of course is expressed, in the wine, just as you spoke of, with the soil or the terroir that we call it. But another thing too is that it's all natural fermentation as well.
Really? Shut up.
It's natural. This is a naturally fermented wine.
So in the same way, they just leave the tops open.
Yeah.
And whatever is around.
So the thing about Pét-Nats, which is, so it's cool. It's unique in a sense where the fermentation continues in the bottle. As champagne does, but the difference is that Pét-Nat is fermented once, but fermented in the bottle. Champagne is fermented twice, once in like still vats or so forth, and then the second fermentation takes place in the bottle, and that's where the more firmer bubbles,
because it's very bubbly.
Yeah, so you'll notice that these bubbles are kind of soft. It's more like a fizzy kind.
I love it.
Yeah, it's a fizzy feel more so than just like, firm bubbles. But at the same time, as far as the fermentation goes, it's once the sugar levels reach, the desired level of whomever the winemaker is, then it's bottled. It's bottled while it's still fermenting.
Right.
As opposed to some wines, they're bottled after the fermentation process has been ended, in a sense. Fermentation process. So that's what's special, about the Pét, that when it reaches the desired sugar levels, we're going to bottle this thing up. We're going to put this crown cap on it, which is the same type of sealing that
as a beer bottle.
They kind of keep it rather simple as opposed to champagne corked. But most Pét-Nats are crown capped.
So, and this is also fun and similar. We would call that bottle conditioning, when something continues to condition in the bottle and create sugar. I would just want to reset for anyone who just joined us, we got some folks who just joined us. I'm Jen. That's Billie. We're talking about beer versus wine tonight, and we have two different styles that we thought would be similar to share with you all. Billie brought a Pét-Nat, Basta, which is a Slovenian sparkling, and I brought Jester King Provenance, which is their blood orange and tangerine farmhouse. And we're just talking about the similarities between the two. If you're just joining us, thank you for being here so much. Decatur Wine Poet asked if you worry about bottle variation at all. What is bottle variation, and why should we care?
So, okay, and so bottle variation is actually not necessarily a bad thing. It brings like an extra uniqueness to the wine itself. As far as bottle variation, for the most part, it's usually, you'll see that from year to year or vintage to vintage, because sometimes some vintages may have different factors that year. Like, say, for instance, it may be a super harsh winter or a very hot summer, or other factors that have changed that's gonna cause these vines or these grapes to be different from the previous year.
And that's the vintage. So the vintage of a wine is the year that
it's the year
that it's made.
Yes.
Okay.
But as far as like Pét-Nats go, it may be a slight variation because everything is kind of naturally happening. It may not be too noticeable, but each bottle is going to be unique in its own right. As opposed to champagne. Champagne is non-vintage and usually has some other steps, within that fermentation process, or within the champagne or the champenois method, that is going to make that champagne from, no matter what year it comes from, not technically because it's non-vintage, but it's going to always taste the same.
Right.
Because it's like, I don't want to call it a recipe.
It's a process, though. Yeah, it's a very strict kind of outline process, so that to ensure quality. And that, for some people, is very important. Like, you'll go to some breweries and try something at the brewery and then get it bottled and canned, and it tastes really, really different. And that's because sometimes the process doesn't translate from being, on the tap, which is the freshest, that is the best time to get a beer.
Yeah.
Different from wine in a lot of ways is that, you want a beer as it's off the tap, unless it's a beer that can be aged, like a farmhouse. That is, you want to age this kind of beer because it develops in the bottle. The purpose of this is for the character to continue to develop. Like you said earlier, it made me think of something. This kind of beer, and all beers really, are alive. And so the cool thing about it is that it will continue to develop. If it's a high enough ABV, like a barley wine, which is almost like a wine style beer, it's up in the 12%. Very good at aging. A Belgian quadruple ale, higher in alcohol, something that has been barrel aged, will age very well. Some beers, on the other hand, like fruited beers, most IPAs, India Pale Ales, you don't want to drink those. You don't want to age those. You just want to drink those as soon as you can. Absolutely. Yeah. And it varies, though, based on the style. And as your friend asked, like, do you worry about variation? I think that is a concern of brewers as well, is, how will this translate, from the tap house to, your house when you're at home just popping one open, and does that change? And I think we have to give a little grace to our craftsmen and women who brew, because a lot of things happen between the time that they put their stamp on a beer and send it out into the world, right? It can, within the storage process between the brewery and the distribution or the the distributor, the way that it may be stored at the shop, the way that you might store it at home, all can contribute to how it is enjoyed once you pop the top or the cork and try it at home.
And then to the point that you made about the aging, and that this one is, or the beer that you chose, is kind of in a sort, in a sense, can be aged.
Yeah.
Pets are not encouraged. So
really? Okay.
We came up, so we do have one difference with these two.
Yeah.
So with Pét-Nats, which
I
are
put on my glasses so I can see when this was put together.
and then I'll show you too something to kind of take a look at. So the color of the bottle, right? So you have your beer bottle with the bottle, and then your Pét-Nat bottle is a clear bottle.
It is.
The thing about wines like cool, dark places.
Okay.
So not all the time, but most of the time, a lot of the time, you can tell that a wine can stand just a little bit of cellaring, depend on whether or not it's a white wine or a red wine. But usually your wines that, you don't want to age, you don't want to cellar, are going to, for the most part, be in clear bottles, like your Pét-Nat, like your rosés. If you've noticed that rosés come in clear bottles.
That's right.
Not meant to be aged at all. Just know that for the most part, by the time any wine hits a shelf at a store, it's really, in a sense, is ready to be drank at that point. Okay. The winemaker, they've done whatever maturation process, or just maturing the wine, or whatever they wanted to do with that particular wine, they've done it already. So, but the thing about it is, another rule of thumb, if you like to, depending on the varietal, depending on the style, to age or cellar this wine for a little bit longer. A little rule of thumb for your white wines, they can usually kind of hang out 3 to 5 years past the vintage or past the date that's on the bottle.
That's so crazy.
They can hang out anywhere from 5 to 10 years for certain varietals, from the date that, or the vintage that's on the bottle, with the exception of a few, like your Beaujolais, which is gamay grape, thinner skin grapes, Pinot Noirs. You don't really want to age them too tough, but maybe there may be some French ones that may be a little bit different, that can kind of hang out just for a smidge. But with your Pét-Nats, I don't even give the rule of thumb for that. Pét-Nats, a year, maybe 2.
So Natasha says, you're saying that y'all need to start knocking back these clear bottles of wine on their shelves.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Basically, Billie's giving you permission to go in this weekend, Natasha and Mickey. Go in, drink those clear bottles. You shouldn't waste. I mean, what are you waiting on, basically?
Every winemaker, they want you to enjoy their wines. That's the whole purpose. They
ASAP.
Their soul, their blood, sweat, and tears into that bottle. This is their baby, and they want to share it with you. They want us to drink it and enjoy it. So that's and I'm not knocking, and I'm not against people who collect wines.
Of course not.
Sole purpose of just collecting them. That's their hobby.
Go on and drink, as Chanel says. Just drink.
Personally, enjoy the wine.
Mulatto 13 says, when you lean in, so just be still. She's excited, Mulatto. I'll make her turn down. Okay. You know what? So in comparison with beer, so most beer is delivered in a dark bottle, right? You very rarely see a clear bottle of beer, because light is like the enemy to beer. Light skunks beers. It turns them skunky, which is that funky flavor you might get. And there are some beers, very few, that are traditionally just nasty tasting, like a Corona to me. No shade, but it's in a clear bottle, guys, so it can't be fresh, right? So the light destroys a lot of it. You very rarely see a good beer in a clear bottle. It'll either be this or green. Green is actually also pushing it too. Like, the least amount of light that can pass through, the better it is. And so even a can, contrary to popular belief, canned beers is the most fresh beer that you will ever get, because it is sealed. It has no light passing through it. And it is like a mini keg. So if you can't get it off a keg, the next best thing is a can. Next best to that. Sometimes they make these ceramic lined bottles. Delirium, their bottles they have bottles, which is you'll see a beer with a pink elephant on it by Delirium. It's a Belgian brewery. Those are bottles that are lined with ceramic. So they're a glass, but it's coated on the inside so that no light gets through that as well. Very good for cellaring a beer. And then, yeah, like either those two, brown or can, is your best bet. And canned beers are the freshest you'll get. Someone said I was throwing shade. That's LaCoya.
Oh,
I
yeah.
probably was. I'm just saying. I'm just
Um,
saying. I'm
now,
just saying.
how long can beer and wine remain in the fridge or on the,
Ooh,
after the bottle has been opened?
good question.
You want to go first?
Yeah, beer, once you open it, it's a wrap, G. You need to go ahead and drink that thing up. So I'm going to chug this. I wish Koya was close by. She could come by and help me finish this beer and wine. But I'm going to do my best. Glasses, you can't recork these. They don't really work like beer. I'm sorry, like wine does, where you can't really seal it back. So you're going to want to go ahead and just drink them up as fast as you can, to be honest. In your fridge, you got a little time. You got some time on them. The higher the alcohol content, so anything above like a 8% can hang out a little longer. But like Billie was saying, they make these so you can drink them. So unless it's a very special beer, like we brewed a beer earlier, was it this year or last year? Last year called Venus, this year, February, that aged, you can age certain beers, but for the most part, you got to go ahead and drink beers up. They are very volatile. It's the water, the carbonation, all those things die out, and they're just not going to be as good. And then you're going to end up like, that's a nasty beer. Nah, sis, you held on to it too long.
A little bit, yeah.
Just drink it. What about wines, Billie?
Slightly different, not much though. For an open wine, it will basically be able to, to kind of still be somewhat drinkable if you do put it in the fridge, even your red wines after you've opened them. So if you've opened a bottle, I would definitely say invest in some really good wine stoppers.
Yes.
I can find one. I'm sitting right here by my drawer.
I
But
have one of those. It's looked like it goes down over it and clamps on top of it.
yeah, so that
Yeah.
definitely for the Pét-Nat I have, like a champagne stopper would be great because
Yes.
it has bubbles. A really nice champagne stopper. And really, to be honest with you, my bubbles last a little bit longer than my still wines in the fridge. I don't know. I've just kind of noticed.
Why?
But the still wine, I'll say a day, maybe the next day, try to finish it. You can push it to 2, I guess. It may not be as good as when you first opened it, but it's definitely not going to be bad. And then if it's after that, or you realize that you had a bottle of wine in your fridge and it's been there for 2 weeks because it was hiding behind the milk, then hey, you can cook with it. I tell people that too.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
you don't have to discard it. But yeah, it's just definitely not one of those things where it's going to do anything to you. It's not going to harm you. But
Right. No, it just may not taste as good. What day do I turn this into sangria? On day what? Day what?
well, see, with the sparklers, it's different than with the still wine.
Okay.
With the bubbles or any type of carbonation, you kind of want to go ahead and kind of drink those.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna finish. Oh God, I got a lot of beer drinking to do, and
Woo!
drinking to do. Chanel says salad dressing. Yeah, I've made some good dressing.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Yeah, where can people get good stoppers from? Mickey and Denise are talking about getting good stoppers. Where would you recommend? Pull yours out and show folks what a good stopper looks like and where they can go. I can't hear you, Billie. Can y'all hear Billie? I can't hear you anymore. What you do? Can y'all hear Billie? Somebody said, good thing y'all both at home. I know that's right. Good thing. Rashawn Thompson, come over. I can't come nowhere. We can't hear you anymore, Billie. Thompson, come over. I can't go nowhere. I've been drinking heavily. I've been drinking heavily. Your sound went out, Billie. Drop off and then come back on, Billie. Drop off and come back on, and we're going to have 10 more minutes and we're going to wrap up. I'm going to let you drop off and then rejoin, and we'll see what happens. So it sounds like, no, I could come over. You can if you want, babes. I got a half a bottle of wine. That's not even a half. And a half a bottle of beer that I got to do. We cannot hear you, Billie. We cannot hear you. We cannot hear you, Billie. We're gonna have you drop off and then join again. Yeah. Okay. So she's gonna come back. Yeah, Tracy, she can't answer the phone. Why you don't know that we got a live tonight? That means you don't be following Vino Van and ATL Beer Boutique to know that we have stuff going on, Tracy. She can't hang out with you. She is on live with me every Wednesday from now for the next couple weeks. So, boom. Okay, Tracy Nicole. She'll call you back. She'll call you back, Tracy. Okay, she gonna come back. Let's see if Billie comes back and we can hear you. Because before we wrap, I want to talk about pairing food with beer and food with wine. So that's what we're going to talk about next. And then we're going to roll out. Trace Thompson, she's been working too much. I know, girl. You be working so much. It's all good, boo. We not mad. We just happy you're here tonight. And you got your beer and your wine or whatever you're drinking. I'm going to say, hey to Prolific Pretty Girl. Hey, Prolific Pretty Girl. Thank you for joining us. While Billie joins, I'm going to talk about the beer that we have and what I would pair this with. So, again, the beer is Jester King Provenance. It's their blood orange and tangerine Farmhouse Ale. It was very aromatic. Rashawn says pair it with tequila. Man, I'm talking about food. Not alcohol, not other alcohol of what to pair this with. I'm talking about sustenance, Rashawn. So I would pair this. I would pair this probably with something that can stand up to the earthiness. It's not a very strong beer. So I would probably pair this with like a roasted chicken, some kind of roasted chicken drink. Oh, Rashawn is drinking tequila. Got it. So I would pair this with a roasted chicken. Michelle, our friend, was talking about a beautiful French inspired roasted chicken that she does with potatoes. And I can't remember what other deliciousness. She stuffs the carcass with herbs. I would definitely pair this with Michelle's roasted chicken. You can marinate it in some oranges and just serve it with that and some potatoes and probably like a nice salad. I think that would be really good. Billie, you're back with us. Can we hear you now? Yay. So we were talking about what to pair this with. I said a good roast chicken with the beer. What would you pair this wine with?
Okay, so let's see here.
Tell us the name of it again.
Cobal Bajta.
Bajta. Cobal is the maker. Bajta is the name of it. Yeah, so it's a Slovenian.
It's a
Pét-Nat. Yeah. What would you pair this with? What meal do you think would? I mean, it could be similar to what I just said, but what would you do it with?
Well,
I'm gonna drink both of them. I'm gonna drink both at the same time too. See what happens. I'm listening.
Yeah, definitely some sort of roasted, white meat, whether it's chicken, pork loin. I think this.
Ooh. So I don't eat a lot of pork, so I don't be knowing that. I don't know the answers to that. Yeah.
Be really nice with something roasted, like, or even maybe even something smoked, like some smoked chicken.
Ooh. Could you do something like this with like mussels, any kind of seafood, or is this going to be too overpowering?
I don't think so. You know what? I would say maybe something like that had some sort of like a scampi sauce, maybe like a shrimp scampi, or maybe some lemon caper butter sauce of some good, or good pairing. And just
what?
A good pairing with this particular.
Do you cook? Do you cook?
I do.
Would you cook with this wine?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so you could do like a pan sauce with this.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would for some chicken. Now, okay, I'll tell you too. As far as like these, okay, so what I will say, like my really nice wines, which I definitely would consider this one a really nice wine. The price point for this one was $24.99. For me,
good to bring up.
Right. So, I mean, I don't mind, I do cook with wine, but like my really nice wines, I do want to drink them and just enjoy them.
I know that's right. Listen, sometimes you just want to drink them. Okay.
Yeah. So other wines that may not be as high in price point, those are the ones that I'll use for cooking.
Got you. That's a really good point. I don't remember how much this Jester King was. Probably $19.99. Probably similar in the price. Someone asked about vegetarian dishes. With this, Mickey, I know how much you like beets and how much I hate them. Beets would go very well with this because it's earthy, minerally, gives you that sort of dirty, disgusting. I'm just kidding. It would go very well with like a golden beets, any kind of roasted, hearty vegetable I would do with this. And Chanel asked about light curry. I'm not sure about doing this with the curry only because, well, it may go okay with like a green curry, which is a lot more vegetal, less heat on that, and that has some kind of a bite to it. So someone said Brussels sprouts. Brussels sprouts would pair well with this. So the pairing rules for beer, and they may be similar for wine, I'm not sure, is to go with something that either complements it, so that's harmony.
Yeah.
So it's similar to this.
Yeah.
So you would think something with orange or tangerine and or earthiness with this, or something that is total opposite and bounces off of it. So an opposite to this, I would say, is something sweet. So maybe a coconut curry, coconut green curry, something with a little bit of sweetness to it to sort of cancel out the earthiness you get from this. So yeah, definitely an earthy vibe, Chanel.
Yeah. The same with the Pét-Nat. I would definitely suggest roasted or even grilled veggies. So
yes, I could see grilled with this Pét-Nat.
Just definitely
100%.
Grill them on, put them on the grill on a kebab. If you want to add some sort of, I don't know, if you want to bake them with some sort of vinaigrette, maybe, or something that's citrusy,
This would make a very good vinaigrette.
Yeah, it's the same concept. You kind of you definitely want balance. Speaking of pairing wines with food, same thing. Like this one definitely has quite a bit of acidity. That's why I suggested like some sort of sauce, because the acidity that's in the wine can sort of kind of cut through and kind of balance out, the sauce itself, in your mouth when you incorporate the both of them.
I think so too. We had one question below, and then we'll wrap up in a moment. Natasha asked, so will this beer be even fruitier or have a bolder citrus over time through aging process? And I think I answered that. This is probably one that you could age over time. What's going to probably happen with this beer when you age it is the fruit is going to turn into more of like a marmalade flavor. So right now it's really bright and zesty. It tastes almost pithy, or like the skin in some instances of the fruit. But once it ages, it's going to turn jammy, marmalade-y. It's going to intensify in the sweetness. That's what I would think. Almost like a reduction of this. If you were to reduce this beer, it would get almost like syrupy, not just the texture of it, but the flavor as well. So my sister's asking about smoked tofu. Yeah, I could see that. I think that this would be a very good marinade because of the citrus, not just for tofu, but for any kind of meat, since citrus kind of breaks down and tenderizes. It would be a good marinade as well.
I agree.
Yeah.
I definitely agree.
Billie, this has been so much fun.
Oh, yes, it has.
Hanging with you on Wednesday. I'm going to be lit every Wednesday for the next 3 Wednesdays.
Yeah,
is this what's happening? Is this what I'm going to be doing?
What's happening? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Every week.
I'm so excited.
Look, it may get extended.
It might. Backed by popular demand, what Big Frida say? Backed by popular demand.
Just saying.
Listen, y'all, I am so excited for the next couple of weeks. I just want to thank everybody for joining us. We've had such good questions from my friends and your friends. I'm happy that we can do this together. Chanel says she'll be coming over next week. I need some people over here. Absolutely. I can't finish all this. I was so ambitious. And I think next time I may not have, I know. Next time I may not have these big bottles, but I might. I don't know. I mean, wine only comes in big bottles. Wine only comes in big bottles.
Yeah. So, I mean, looks like we're going to be doing some serious sipping, Jen.
Remind people of how they can find you on Instagram, Billie.
Sure. So on Instagram, I am at the Vino Van LLC. On Facebook too.
Yes. And real quickly, what is the Vino Van? Girl, tell everybody about the Vino Van.
Oh, the Vino Van is an all-inclusive wine tour up to the North Georgia vineyards. And visit the areas of Ellen and Dahlonega. It includes all of your tastings. It includes gourmet lunch, snacks and bottled water, a welcome mimosa upon boarding, and of course, your round trip transportation to and from Atlanta.
I love it. It's so awesome, y'all. My mom doesn't know this yet. I ain't gonna say nothing because she might watch this.
Oh,
she ain't on Instagram.
No,
but I'm gonna put it on Facebook. But she ain't gonna watch it. We booked Billie for my mom's 80th birthday, and we're so excited because my mom likes to hang out and party. So we're gonna have a great time with Billie. But we, as a collective, and you all who have joined us, are gonna have a great time every Wednesday here at 6 p.m. as we do beer versus wine. My sister said this is the only versus that she is worried about. I don't think my sister has watched any other verses. She ain't watched no Patty and Gladys or none of that. This is the verses that she is tuning in for, and we hope that you will too. We'll be here for the next 3 Wednesdays and maybe even more, but definitely the next 3. Right? And next week, we don't know what we're going to do next week. We're just going to go shopping and figure out what we like.
That's it.
And so this past week, Billie kind of led. I let her pick her wine, and I picked the beer to go with it. Next week, I'll pick the beer, and Billie will pick the wine to go with it. And we're just going to be excited to hear from you all and what you all have to say. We're going to post these in our stories. Picture. I will, and Billie will too.
I sure will.
And, what were you about to say, Billie?
Oh, I was just saying, I'm not sure if you mentioned where we found these at. So, yeah. We got
Hop City at Krog Street. Yep.
And Sam Spaghetti. And tell him and Jen sent you.
He's so good. He sat there with us. I mean, he was just so informative and knew so much about wine and beer and just everything in that store. He was great.
Oh, yeah.
Is my speech getting slurry?
Ooh.
I can't tell. I need to go eat some dinner. Okay, guys. Thank you so much. Sam Spaghetti.
I know.
Okay. Seriously. We cannot wait to see y'all here next week for what's next, what's to come. Thank you. Make sure you join us next week. I'm ATL Beer Boutique, Vino Van LLC. We'll see y'all in a week. Thank you so much, guys. Bye.
Cheers.